picture the scene. It's 11 o'clock in the evening, you're in Faliraki or Benidorm or Ibiza or somewhere like that, and you're having a stroll, and from nowhere, from out of the shadows, jumps this big, muscular guy in his white vest top and bronzed skin, and in the broadest Scouse or Mancunian accent you can ever imagine, tries to beckon you in to his neon-lit haven of a bar, probably called Dave's Fun Pub or something, all with the promise of free entry and a free shot on arrival. So how did old Brad or Tyler or whatever his name is end up in this situation? Now, it's possible, of course, that he's just come off the back of a 3-year leisure and tourism degree at Leicester University, and he's trying to justify that 3 years of expenditure to his parents and trying to mask the fact that maybe it was just a way of deferring for 36 months the reality of real life, of responsibility, of a job, and really just get on it for 3 years. But the more likely possibility is he, once upon a time, came on holiday with the lads, to said resort, Faliraki or Benidorm or whatever, and simply didn't want that holiday to end. So he decided to stay out there and work for this bar, and maybe slowly that dream of a life by the beach is starting to dissipate, and the realities of the life he has chosen for himself start to hit home. And in a roundabout sort of way, this relates to gambling, and that's what I want to talk about in today's video. Firstly, I just want to say hi, hola. Hope you're keeping safe. Hope you're keeping sane. Thanks to everyone who continues to support the channel. There is a Patreon link in the description below. So if you so wish to support me in that way, it would be massively appreciated. Thank you very much. And I'll probably bang on about that more at the end of the video. So if we put the bronzed Adonis, Brad or Tyler or whatever he is working for Dave's Fun Pub to one side for a minute. We all love a holiday, don't we? It's a great time to get away from work, get away from the stresses and strains of our reality of everyday mundane life. You know, the fact that the hallway needs a second coat of white gloss, or the fact the boss is getting on your back about this project that he's completing, or the mother-in-law's doing your head in about, I don't know, whatever mother-in-laws do your head in about. And so you can jet off for a couple of weeks and indulge in San Miguel and tapas and watching attractive blonde ladies walk down the beach in bikinis, or maybe that's just me, who knows. And we hope this holiday will never end, but invariably it does, and we have to come back to our normal life and address the mother-in-law and the hallway painting. But there's a reason this has to happen, because too much San Miguel will make you fat and probably shorten your life. Too much tapas is going to send your cholesterol sky high, and too many of these bikini clad babes on the beach will maybe send you blind, who knows, right? But the reason the holidays come to an end is because they are literally just that. They are escapism from the mundane and from the stresses and strains and realities of everyday life. Now that sounds quite depressing, all right, but it is good to have something to look forward to and something to reminisce about after the fact. Where old Brad, I mentioned at the front end of this video, may have gone wrong is he has tried to turn this short-term break, escapism, and a positively enjoyable and exciting experience into a long-term way of life. And as mentioned with the San Miguel and the tapas, in many ways this isn't sustainable. In the biggest way possible, most of the time it isn't sustainable purely from a financial perspective, but also it will have massive implications on your family relationships, particularly if they're all back in good old Blighty or wherever it is that you're from, or it will have massive implications on your health and well-being, like I say, the beer and tapas, or it will have untold impact on your potential for career prospects and whatever. Alright, so sometimes holidays are best left simply as holidays, as a break, as an escapism. We don't just use holidays for escapism, however. There are a lot of things we use in the Western world as a means of escape. And we've spoken before about alcohol and recreational drugs and pornography, even things as sort of innocent as movies and music, and things that we use to distance ourselves for a short period of time from reality. We also, to this end, use gambling. We treat gambling as a form of escapism, to get into our own little bubble, into our own little world, where all the stresses and strains, the unpainted hallway, the mother-in-law, the boss on your back, the argument with the wife, all of it drifts away and you get into the zone, your head filled with dopamine, distracted by the flashing lights or the running horses or the people on the screen playing sport. And just for the time of that event, of that game, of that football match, of whatever, we are free of the stresses and strains of reality. The problem is, for many of us, myself included, we turn into that Brad. We are the guy who doesn't want that holiday to end. We have these problems and we want to keep running away from them. But like the holiday, it simply isn't sustainable. Gambling is not sustainable in the same way that a holiday is not sustainable. And we're not just talking about the sheer cost of using this as a means of distraction from real life. Gambling distracts us from our relationships. It distracts us from our friendships. It distracts us from family, from work, from all the other parts of our life that we cause untold damage to should we neglect them for extended periods of time. In the same way that Brad's family may never speak to him again because he decided to live out all of his 20s in Faliraki working for Dave's Fun Pub. If you spend your life constantly not turning up to family obligations, not being there for birthdays and being, if physically present, mentally absent for significant occasions and times where maybe those people closest to you are relying on you for some form of support, then you will find that your relationships will break down. If you spend too much time, too much energy, too much resource and too much headspace mentally distancing yourself from the stresses and strains of work, from the fact that your boss is now increasingly on your back because you've become unproductive, lazy and distracted because of your gambling addiction, then this is ultimately going to cause issues with not only your career progression, but it may actually lead you to lose your job, altogether, and find future prospects, employment-wise or in terms of career development, that much more difficult because of your history. Relationships like Brad, if Brad had a wife or a partner back home, then their relationship ultimately is going to fail because of the distance from Faliraki to Manchester or whatever. All right, I may push this analogy as far as it will go. But if you are absent, like I say, if not physically, then psychologically for extended periods of time, this can simply not sustain an emotional relationship. And like I say with the holiday, your finances, particularly if your career progression and your job prospects are somewhat stunted by this escapism, the finances simply will not support a long-term thing. Now, many people who aren't addicts can use gambling as a recreational thing in the same way that they can use alcohol or tobacco or maybe recreational drugs as a way of a short-term release from reality. But if you find that you need to consistently use whatever vice it happens to be, in my instance it was predominantly gambling, if you feel that you consistently need that supply of absenteeism, that supply of escapism, that holiday from reality, and you lean on any kind of negative habit or addiction as a crutch to escape that, then it will become unsustainable. You need to come back from holiday. You need to address the problems that will never go away. At the risk of again tearing the arse out of this analogy, that hallway is never going to get painted. That report or whatever it is you need to do at work that your boss is on your back about is never going to get done whilst you stay absent. It will always be there. The difference is the longer you stay on holiday, the bigger and more significant these problems become, alongside all the additional problems that you are making for yourself. The beer gut because of the San Miguel, the cholesterol because of the tapas, and the blindness because of the bikini babes on the beach. Alright, so don't be Brad, is what I'm saying. Yes, if you can gamble and you can use it as a form of escapism for a short period of time, it causes you no harm, and then you go back to reality and deal with your problems, then fine. But if you find, like so many people and almost certainly yourself if you're watching this video, that you use it for escapism time and time and time again, kicking the can of other life problems further and further down the road so you don't have to address them, all the time creating additional problems, from actually exacerbating the problems that you had, which, should they have been dealt with in good time, may not have escalated to the scale they've become. If you find yourself doing that, then it is now time to maybe draw a line under it. Consider your situation, consider whether you do want a different life for yourself, not a life of burying your head in the sand like an ostrich and expecting that the problems that you're leaving buried will just go away, because they won't. They'll get bigger and bigger, and they'll be waiting for them once you land back at Stansted. Sorry for the massive analogy there, but I hope that makes a lot of sense. Like I say, getting away from things, using anything as a holiday from reality, even that be a short-term fix, is absolutely fine. But if you find that you're constantly relying on that, if you are Brad and you want to stay on holiday for the rest of your life and avoid your problems back home, they will not go anywhere. They will literally be there alongside all the additional problems that you're creating for yourself. Stay safe, stay sane. I'm off to go and book holiday to Falaraki. All the best.